Good afternoon, everybody. I feel really deeply honored to be in this room with so many explorers, so many adventurers, entrepreneurs who have fantastic stories to tell about their life and their wishes. The last day and this morning was really a tremendous, fantastic experience. I hope you had the same feeling as I have right now. And it's kind of intimidating now to speak about the end of this session, which is to speak about ice and memories in the ice, so that we'll still refresh a bit the atmosphere. But please be patient before we are finished. So what it is about memories in the ice? A simple fact. Glaciers for you are probably a beautiful fact of nature. It's white, it's wild, it's a place where you can hike and just admire nature. For us scientists, actually, it's a book. It's a book telling us about the history of the planet, history of its climate, history about the atmospheric composition. We can record a lot of things just by looking at the deep layers inside glaciers. Kenneth this morning showed you this quite impressive graph of the evolution of atmospheric carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over the last 800,000 years, with a huge jump we experienced since about 200 years. This observation, it comes from ice investigation. We collected ice cores, notably in Antarctica, and we looked at the composition of the tiny air bubbles that are entrapped in these natural ice layers. They are just capsules of the past atmosphere, and by measuring the tiny concentration of greenhouse gases in these bubbles, we can tell about the history of carbon dioxide, history about methane, another potent greenhouse gas, and so on. So, but it's not only about that. Ice cores allow us to tell us about the history about regional pollution. We can trace, for instance, the impact of human emissions of heavy metals, of persistent organic pollutants. We can track the evolution of biomass burning, forest fires, savanna fires. We can track the emissions from the ocean, a lot of things. And it's still quite a young science. This science was born about 60, 70 years ago. And we expect there will be much more to do. But the difficulty that glaciers are retreating everywhere at the surface of the planet. And with them, we lose the ice memory of the planet. We will still be able in the next centuries to collect sediments in the deep sea, to collect sediments in lakes, to collect speleothems in caves. But we will not be able anymore to collect ice cores from mountain glaciers because they will be gone. They will be gone forever. So this is our duty through this foundation Ice Memory, to try to make that the next generations of scientists, in decades to centuries from now, will have still new ideas. They will be brighter than we are. They will have new technologies, and they will need to have some raw material from glaciers, which will not be at the surface of this planet anymore when they will conduct their science. So this is kind of a legacy for the future generations. So what for? Our aim is to create a legacy of heritage ice cores to be collected on some of the key glaciers in the world that we know have a real value to tell us about the history of the planet, and notably its regional history. So the point is to go on the glacier, like you see on this picture, and drill so-called ice cores. So ice core is a cylinder of ice about 10 centimeter diameter, which will run from the surface of the glacier down to bedrock, so that we get all the pages of this natural book made of the glacier. And to do that before the glaciers are too much degraded because of global warming, or before they disappear. So it's easy in principle, but it's a bit more difficult in terms of application. So I will show you here with a short film how it took place in an expedition we handled in 2017 on Nevado Illimani in Bolivia at an altitude of 6,300 meters, which makes a bit more than 20,000 feet. And that's where science becomes a bit of a challenge. So first of all, we need to acclimatize the team, so that goes through different steps, through the Salar in Bolivia, and then Chacaltaya in Bolivia, And then we had a team of 60 porters and guides to get 1.5 tons of equipment at 6,300 meters of altitude. That was kind of a challenge. This is a drilling site, so at more than 20,000 feet. And there it's not only about being there, it's about staying there for about 3 weeks to collect these ice cores. And we've been successful at collecting 2 ice cores down to bedrock and one at 140 meters of depth. Because it's warm there, we had to use the night with the porters to collect the ice cores down, 2 tons of ice cores on the back of people, back to the 4x4 trucks at the base camp at 4,500 meters. And there it was a 3-hour drive on difficult roads until we would get to the freezer in Bolivia. And this freezer was brought back to France, and there we took the ice core boxes and put them in a commercial freezer, waiting for the next step that I will speak about in the next minutes. So far, the project started in 2016. We have been successful in conducting 6 drilling operations. So in the Alps, in Caucasus, in the Russian Altai, and in the Andes. The first operation was handled in Mont Blanc, the highest summit in Europe, in 2016, and then Nevado e Limani in the Andes, 2017. Elbrus, Mount Elbrus, 2018. Beluga in the Russian Altai, 2018. We've conducted 2 other drilling operations in the Alps in 2020 and 2021, but to tell you the story, Grand Combin in 2020, the glacier was already too warm. We started the drilling, got to 20 meters of depth, and we encountered water. So it was just too late. The glacier is gone for geochemical investigation. We have some plans for the next 10 years. The probably most symbolic one is Kilimanjaro. We hope to get the green light from the Tanzanian authorities in the next days or weeks. It will be conducted in September. Kilimanjaro glacier is a nice symbol of what's going on today. The remains of the glacier at 5,800 meters of altitude is only 50 meters of ice. And we know that the bottom ice has a date of 11,000 years. So that's the history of Africa over 11,000 years. We also know that the most recent 200 years of accumulation are gone forever. They already sublimated back to the atmosphere. So it's a rush against time. And we hope to get there in September, collect 6 ice cores. One of them will be used for so-called reference measurements. We will use today's technology to document what is in this ice for the future generations as well. And the 5 others will be transported to the next step. We have some other projects in Svalbard, 2023, in Nepal, 2024, Subantarctic Island, Heard Island, Huascaran and Quelquaya are very important glaciers in the Andes to tell us about the history of these regions. Mount Logan in Canada, our Canadian colleagues have been successful at drilling an ice core there just a few weeks ago, and we will attempt to get some heritage ice cores as well. I put question mark on Kamchatka and Arctic Islands. The context, geopolitical context since 24th of February makes that the access to these sites will be difficult for us. So I spoke about next step. What is the next step? Where we simply thought that when it comes to store ice for decades to centuries, we cannot really rely on commercial freezers in the US, in Europe, or elsewhere. Nobody would be able to guarantee that the ice would be stored in good conditions for such a long time. And we have the chance that on Earth, there is a natural freezer. This is Antarctica. And especially the place that I show on this picture, which is Concordia Station, a station run by France and Italy at the heart of Antarctica. The mean annual temperature today at this site is minus 55 degrees Celsius. So this is a perfect freezer. And even in the context of global warming, we know that it will stay cold enough for these heritage ice cores to be stored in very good conditions in the future. So I will illustrate this transfer of this universal legacy to Concordia Station through a short video. And I would like to highlight first that we rely on existing logistics. To resupply this station every year, we use the logistics from France to Concordia Station using something like 40 maritime containers to carry everything we need on this station. So the impact, the footprint of the project itself will be very limited. We use existing logistics, and we put 2 or 3 maritime freezers on this logistics. So this is the position of Concordia Station, as you can see. And it starts with the French icebreaker called l'Astrolabe. We're running between Australia and this station, Dumont d'Urville, on the coast. And there we get to Cap Prud'homme, a place where we have heavy-duty tractors carrying sledges to Concordia Station on a distance of 1,100 kilometers. It takes 11 to 10 days of driving in quite difficult conditions to get to Concordia Station. And that's the way the ice memory ice cores will be transported. This is the view you have getting to Concordia Station in the middle of nowhere. A fantastic place, like the ISS on land. And then there we will dig a trench in the snow down to about 10 meters. We put a balloon, inflatable balloon, and when it's fully inflated, we just blow back snow on top of the balloon. And then we use the natural process of snow sintering, making that in the end, when we come to the site, we just open, we deflate the balloon, we have a perfect natural arch made of blown snow, which will handle the storage of ice cores for decades to centuries. And this is a way as well to reduce our carbon footprint. We will not bring any material to store these ice cores in the future. Who are we? We're a foundation now, so we are a legal entity. It's a foundation created under the auspice of the foundation of the university that I belong to, University Grenoble-Alpes, in the Alpine Mountains. And actually, this foundation has put together quite a unique partnership because we are scientific institutions, academic institutions, and philanthropists as well. At the moment, we have 4 academic institutions from France, 2 from Italy, and 1 from Switzerland. And we have prepared I would say, the legal framework of the foundation so that it could really be enlarged. And we hope to have much more countries and institutions coming in. But to make it happen, we need as well philanthropists. And the biggest one has been so far the foundation of Prince Albert II of Monaco. Prince Albert has been at the heart of our project. I had the chance to meet him in 2014, telling him about this. It was the idea at this time. And he said, this is a great idea. I want to help you. And he made that through his foundation, we got the very first funding support to make the operation in 2016 on Mont Blanc happen. And more than that, he accepted to be our honorary president. So he's the person, head of state, helping us today at the governmental, intergovernmental level to discuss with the authorities and to get the authorization for the operations. 2 other philanthropists, quite important, are the Foundation Didier and Martine Pribat, who are based in Geneva, and Thermo Fisher Scientific. This is one of the biggest maker of scientific instruments in the world. Last but not least, we have the support from UNESCO. The UNESCO Executive Committee made 2 declarations in support of ice memory, asking the states and government to help as much as they can to safeguard this icy memory of the planet. So to finish, if you are interested with this principle of a legacy to the future generations and the legacy of a book, a natural book, a fantastic book made of ice layers, you are very much welcome to join us. Our next operations will be in 2023 in Svalbard. We will target the Oldestad and Ostfona glaciers before they get just too warm. They are very close to 0 degrees Celsius now. And we will target the Mera Peak in Nepal, which is close to Mount Everest. It's a glacier we've been following for a very long time. It's getting warmer and warmer, even if it sits at 6,500 meters of altitude, that is 21,000 feet or so. And how to help us? Different ways, of course, to be associated with us for the future drilling operations. We still have, as you understood, quite a lot of work to conduct in different places of the world. We need to conduct ice core analysis as well on the so-called reference ice core, so that we create a database, international database, fully open access, which will be used by the future generations to guide their own research. And the long-term governance, because we see this foundation as kind of a step in between. We will not be there forever. We need other bodies, international bodies, to take over, and we will hand over this legacy heritage through this body, so that if you can help us through diplomacy, UNESCO, Antarctic Treaty, and so on, you're very much welcome. Thank you very much.